Okay. So I watched In a New York Minute this morning, and oh my gosh, see, I love these type of movies where it's about Asian Americans and Asians adjusting to their lives in, New York City, and also dealing, in some point, dealing with traditions. And I like the fact that we have three stories here, and then you get the connection between the three of them. And I have to say, out of the three stories, I really enjoyed yours the most.
Oh, thank you so much, Albert.
So, how did you get involved with this project?
Actually, I one of the producers is someone that I know, and he hit up the casting director, said, "Hey, when you're casting for this film, why don't you take a look at Celia?" And then I send in a tape, traditionally like auditioning, and then in the callback, the director Mandy was there, and I remember one of the first things she told me, she's like, "Okay, Celia, she's a little bit more girly. So can you be a little bit more girly?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." She's like, "You stroll in." She's like, "In your tape, you were girly. You walk in, like, hey, what up, everyone?" So yeah, like I did a chemistry read with a couple of guys, and then and she was like, "Oh, actually, I found someone else." And then we had like a rehearsal day, and I met Roger, who played Ian.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like I said, I love your story the most because I feel like I've seen this before, but your character's stepmother, man, I couldn't stand her. She's so ruthless, but I like the fact, I love the story that it's your character coming to America, trying to start a life, and you're hindered by your family. And I just feel like, and you have to do anything you can to not just take care of your dad's expenses and everything, but at the same time, you feel that sense of freedom at the same time. And
Yeah,
that's what I feel like it resonates. Like anyone who has dealt with that, coming from another country, they got to do what they can to either get
survive.
that freedom going. And so that's what I really liked about your character in the film.
Thank you so much. I mean, Yan, who plays my stepmother, she's actually a really good friend of mine. I remember like when we were shooting, it was like really intense, and then they call cut my bleh. And it's just like, "Hey, stop!" And then we just mess around. She was actually telling me that she was emulating a lot of her mother, because she was like she had a lot of trouble adjusting when she first came to the States.
Mhm.
And she was like, "I feel like I was in your position." And she was like, and that, she's playing how her mother kind of treated her. And I was like, "Oh shit," and bring in hugs.
Oh wow. So yeah, that's awesome that you got to get that experience from the person you worked with, like, because they've been through it. And
And yeah, she was like, "It's so hard to feel like, you can never match up to what she wants."
yeah, just like when she tells your character, you'll never live up to what Kevin does, but then you kind of tell her, well, Kevin ain't all that in a bag of chips like you think he is, and basically. But I like the fact that your character does eventually grow that backbone, and you finally tell him, you know what, I'm leaving, I'm done. Even though the father forbids it, you just tell him, no, this is it. I'm gonna go my freedom, and despite everything. And I think that's what we need more of, like that type of resonance.
Oh, thank you. It was, I mean, Mandy wrote it. I thought Mandy did a great job in telling all three stories. And when I read it, I'm like, "Oh, this resonated." And the guy that plays my dad, Fenton, we actually did a short film that summer before,
Mhm.
and he also played my dad.
Oh,
And
so
so when we got on set, I was like, "Hey, Dad." He was like, "Hey, you're my daughter again."
what'd you think of the other two stories involved? Like, aside from your story, what'd you think of Amy and Angel's stories? I mean, I felt like they both had their own little um quirks, and I really felt like, like Amy, I think Amy's is the most interesting in a way, because while yours I felt was the most realistic, Amy's was the most interesting in that she developed an eating disorder after a breakup, and I've never heard of that before. Like, she cannot. I mean, I understand that, if someone breaks up with someone, you might lose an appetite now and again, but she got to the point where now she's like, I'm throwing up everything I eat, and I can't eat anything. I'm a food editor, so that's gonna mess up my job. But
Yeah.
I felt like hers was one of the most, like, a very interesting one as well.
Yeah, her story is great. I mean, think about it. Like also the nuances of like being afraid to come out to your parents.
Yeah.
And she's already someone that's like successful in her career. And there's this thing that she constantly feels like is boxing her in, like she can't be her true self. She needs to make her parents happy. And that's when, Jay's character came along, and oh, there's a guy that likes me, and that the guy that's satisfied what the status quo is, what the tradition is. And she was like, all right, fine, I'll give it a try. Like doing the whole storyline, that to her it's like more like, oh, he's sweet, but she doesn't love him because she has already have her mind set, but she's trying to follow what makes her family happy. Her mom's in a hospital. I'm like, when are you getting married? And her was like, okay, the pressure's on. It's like her life is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. If she doesn't make a decision now, she's going to disappoint her family.
Yep.
Like because of her breakup, her career isn't going well, and everything is just kind of falling apart in her world, which I think not enough Asian American stories. Like what do we have? Saving Face, that talks about,
Yeah.
a queer Asian storyline. And we don't ever talk about, the trauma or like the expectation that people have. And I like a lot of my friends were like, they face the same type of problems constantly. Like, the honor system in the Asian family is so important, right? Saving face itself is so important. They're like, okay, I can't say this, I can't do that. And then that's when the anxiety builds, and then depression sets in, right? Because they feel like they can't go anywhere. And I love that, there's a storyline that talks about this so people can relate to. One of my biggest thing about like film is we can, through the screen, we can experience what it's like walking in someone else's shoes. And then we can have more empathy towards someone. Maybe someone's parents will watch this film and be like, oh, that's not a right way to treat their kid. And if that happens to their kid, they will have a little bit more empathy and like, instead of like traditions, saving face,
Right.
and then actually listen to them and know what they want. And ultimately, I feel like, I think all parents just want their kids to be happy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel definitely. I mean, I got 4 kids, so I was whatever they want to do in life, I'm all supportive. I might not always agree with everything, but you know what? I'm still going to support them. I'm their dad, so that's how I am.
Yeah,
But
and I think we need a lot more of that. The idea of like tradition sometimes like hinders the connections between family, and that's why they don't talk. Like you see a lot of kids and like, oh yeah, I don't talk to my parents about my problems. Like, why? You actually should. Your parents care truly a lot about you. It's just you guys have to find a way to communicate, and for the parents to not always be like, you're wrong, and this is X, Y, and Z, you have to do that. Meanwhile, just have a conversation.
Right, exactly. And I like the part that you just mentioned, how in Chinese traditions, there's not really the LGBTQ thing, but, and you brought up the saving face thing, but it just reminded me of a movie called A Queer Story that came out in Hong Kong like many years ago. And, it's like a married guy, and he realizes, what, I'm not happy with my wife. I'm actually gay. And he's like, he struggles with it. It's like an older man, and he strikes up this romance with a younger guy in a way. And but he feels like he could be his true self with this guy. And I think, we need more of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, step in people's shoes so we can have more sympathy and have like empathy towards one another, rather than like judging people just by the way they look and the decisions that they make in life, right? It's like, if you don't you're not hurting anybody, do what you do, like, why not?
And kudos has to go to the legendary Chang Pei Pei. She did a great job
Oh my God.
as the mom.
I was there that day. I was so nervous.
I was literally just going to ask you that. Did you get to see her on the set? And I was literally, you just answered my next question.
I was so nervous because I worked with her daughter. Her daughter and I are friends. And I mean, I grew up watching Chang Pei Pei films. My parents owned a video store, like a Hong Kong films. Is what I grew up.
That was my specialty in college. I was a film studies major, and my specialty was Hong Kong cinema. So
do you remember the Stephen Chow film where he's like the scholar, the flirty scholar?
Yeah, flirty scholar, yeah.
And then Chang Pei Pei is like the madam of the house.
Yeah.
That is like my favorite Chang Pei Pei thing. Okay, so I was like, I don't know if I should say hi, like she's working, I want to be respectful, And then I was texting her daughter. I was like, yo, guess what I'm doing? She's like, you're in a movie with my mom. I was like, damn it, how do you know? She's like, my mom's in New York. And I was like, oh, she's like, go say hi to my mom. I was like, I feel a little shy. And then she goes, it'll be rude if you don't say hi to her, because I already told her that my friend's on that set. And I was like, fine. So I went and like knock on the door. I'm like, her sister came out and she's like, hey Celia, how have you been? I haven't seen you in a while. I'm like, hey, what's up? And then I walked in and I was like, hello, auntie. And I was like, in my head, I was like, should I call her Pei Pei or should I call her auntie? She's my friend's mom. But like we're working together on the set. And I was like, hi, Auntie, how are you? And she was like, hi, Eugenia tells me a lot about you. And I was like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. And then I was like, I want to say, do you remember that part in the movie when like they were like giving each other poison?
Yeah.
That little like speech that they all do, and it's like a commercial. It's like, oh, 3 steps
Oh
and
yeah.
you will die.
Yeah, I remember that.
I kind of blurted that out, and then she was like, huh? And I was like, never mind.
Oh, she didn't remember. But yeah, I saw, I said a couple of years ago, I finally saw Come Drink With Me. So I was like, like how great she was in that movie. And then, of course, in college, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon had just come out. So a whole bunch of us went to see it. And we're,
She's
of course,
amazing.
yeah. And I like that she speaks really good English, but then in this film, she spoke all Chinese dialogue, as did Ludi Lin, who plays
Mortal
David.
Kombat, Power
Yeah, Mortal
Rangers.
Kombat, Power
He's in
Rangers.
everything. Ludi's in everything right now.
Yeah, he's gonna be the
killing
next.
it.
He's gonna be the next it guy. And I like the Angel story too, because she is married to this American businessman who just he's maybe they had that love when they were first married, but it's like maybe years have passed and just like okay, like a 7-year itch, if you will, and then now she's having the affair with Ludi's character.
I
And
mean, isn't it easy to relate to in a way where I'm sure that, at one point they were in love. That's why she got married, right?
yeah,
And when someone works in the corporate world and someone else works in the creative world, there's always this like, there's a lot of scenes where she's trying to explain to her husband what she's doing. She's excited about it, share it with him. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's great, honey.
yeah,
And that doesn't feel like she doesn't feel supported. Meanwhile, there's this guy. He's an artist. He's a writer. He's fresh.
he's also creative like her.
He's creative and he understands her,
Yeah.
and it's like sometimes you just need that spark and you need that like little bit of creativity fulfilled in life. And I guess I don't think like Angel's character doesn't like the character Angel doesn't like her husband or love him. It's just that he's no longer that supportive husband, and it became stale. And now someone else is excited and they came along and she was like, wow, this person understands everything that I want. And she's willing to give up her life with her husband to go with him, but like, I cannot commit to anything. I don't know what to do in my life.
Yeah, he's still young and brash, so he's always going to the karaoke bar. And that's why I was like, yeah, like that's where we see you. And just like what do I want in life? And but I do like that there too. And that reminds me of another Hong Kong movie, Itchy Heart, with Lau Ching Wan, where he and his wife get married.
Oh yeah, with
7 years later.
the 7-year, yeah.
She goes to Tokyo on a trip, and he's like, I'm gonna have all this fun now, but I'm not gonna sleep with anyone. And he forms a bond, and he runs to his ex-girlfriend, who's with Andy On, who's one of my favorite actors over there. And,
oh my God, Andy On is such a good fighter. He's amazing.
Yeah. It's funny. I was watching I saw Black Mass 2 for the first time all these years ago, and I wrote a review, and I said it's like, oh, this was his film debut in a way, and I feel like with the right training, he's gonna make it as an action star. And look what happens a couple years later. So it's like he became this awesome fighter, and I was like, I called it. I go if he had, so I was like, that's awesome that he's doing that. But yeah, I feel like with some of these stories in this, I resonate. I kind of feel like I'm watching like these different Hong Kong movies. They're reminding me of these different Hong Kong movies, and I feel like that's why I really like it.
Mhm.
Like this one, especially this film, because some of the stories just resonates, and like I feel like I'm seeing this movie, I'm seeing Ching Pei Pei, I'm seeing like there's these connections. I'm like, holy crap, I'm liking it. But
I mean, like even for Angel's storyline, like it's a good reminder for someone to like partner and be like, hey, sometimes listen to what your partner has to say.
Yeah.
Listen, like pay a little bit more attention. They just need someone to say, hey baby, I understand what you're talking about, I get this, this story, I'm so excited that you booked a job. Even when she told her husband she booked the job, and he was like, cool, yeah, you're doing great, honey. And meanwhile, like Ludi's character is like, all right, let's run lines, let's let's get you into character, and that creativity and the sparks that got her.
And I love that there's a theme to it. It's like the theme to the movie is it love or is it freedom? And I think Amy has the best line in the movie where she says, why not both? That's
Mhm.
what it is. You got to love yourself, and you got to be free of all these hindrances. You got to love yourself to find love. That's what I feel like. That's what this, that's what I feel like is the theme of this.
Yeah.
I-
Thank you for liking the movie and thank you for watching it.
But yeah, I think people definitely need to see this movie. I mean, I feel like the Asian Americans, everyone's talking about Crazy Rich Asians, but I think of other films like mostly indie films that really represent the Asian American community in such a positive light. I think of Dim Sum, Yellow, Better Luck Tomorrow, even though they have characters who are kind of, let's face it, they're mean, but in
Mhm.
a way it shows like the realism of what the Asian Americans go through,
Yeah,
in life in America. And that's what this is the type of film I absolutely love.
thank you. That means a lot. We're trying to get the word out there so more people can watch the film. And it's one thing to make a film, right? And getting distribution is hard. And now there's a release of it, and if no one watches, then it just flows out in the universe, and whatever you call it, the World Wide Web, and
Yeah,
it wouldn't get told. And I always feel like, storytelling and film it's a way for people to understand one another better, and kind of through I'm living my life, like your life, through the screen, where I understand next time around, like I see someone like that, I'm like, hey, let me have some empathy and not judge someone and not judge a book by its cover so quickly.
exactly. And that's the one thing I like about Ian's character. Like your character works as an escort, but
Mhm.
he doesn't see you as that. He's not judging you. Like he genuinely cares about Nina,
Mhm.
and that's what makes it really special. Even though she's in this really bad family dynamic, your character has the one person who's there for her, regardless of the fact that you're pretty much you're an escort, but
Mhm.
he doesn't care. He loves you because of who you are.
And
He
he's
loves
trying to provide a steady life for us.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Him trying to open a shop and be like, hey, you don't need to work at the KTV anymore. We can
Yeah.
have a life together, the life that you wanted, a steady life with love, with a family.
I think well, even though we know how the movie ends, I feel like if there was a follow-up I could see, or like an epilogue, I could see you and Ian happily working, living the dream in that restaurant that you guys wanted to open.
I mean, there was a little bit of an epilogue. It's just in my head, in Nina's head, she's forever with Ian.
Yeah.
And the guy that plays Ian, Roger, we're still really good friends to this day, and we still call each other boyfriend and girlfriend. To the point that,
Nice.
like, Roger's mom's like, "Are you dating Celia?" He's like, "No, we're friends."
Oh, we're friends. We just call each other that. It's just
Yeah.
no, don't freak out, mom. Yeah, I've had that happen.
Like, "Are you guys dating?" Roger's like, "Hey, just letting you know, my parents are like really excited to meet you, thinking that there's something that can happen between us." I'm like,
That's awesome.
yeah.
So finally, what's next for you after after the release of this? Is there anything that you're working on that you can talk about?
Yeah, actually, the film just started shooting. I'm starting work next week. I'm on a new Asian American film called Asian Persuasion. It's a rom-com, starring Dante Bosco.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so Dante, do you know Kevin Kreider from Bling Empire?
No, don't
So
know.
it's Dante, Kevin, Pablo, who was Prince Charming from the Cinderella movie Brandy,
Oh, okay.
and Casey Conception. She's a big Filipino star. And then me and the little girl from Hustler. She played Constance's daughter in the film.
Mhm.
So we're doing this rom-com called Asian Persuasion.
Nice. And I guess since when it was on Netflix, like
Oh, thank you.
because I love that show. Like I was like so mad when it got canceled, but at least it wrapped up with the film. So in some ways, it's gone full circle. But yeah, but you were great in this movie, and I'm hoping everyone gets to see in a New York Minute on May 3rd when it hits digital. 3 great stories, the connection, and it's what we just talked about. Everything with traditions and getting the love and freedom and you definitely got to see Celia's story, because I think hers is, she did a great job in this movie. So Celia, thank you so much again for taking the time to talk about it.
Thank you for having me, Albert, and thank you for watching the film. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, I hope everything goes well, and you I can't wait to see Agent Persuasion. I'm gonna look out for that one when that comes out. So
Thank
be-
you.
all right. Yeah, we'll keep in touch soon or whatnot. So
Yeah, keep in touch. Like, let me know when this interview is up and I can share it as well.
all right, sounds good. All right, you take care and stay safe.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right, bye-bye.
Bye.